the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Stoned Appetit with your host, as always, it's me, Kip Wilson. I'm actually doing the casting couch by myself today because we're doing a pre-service interview while CB is at the museum. We've got Eve on the ones and twos at home, so she will be handling the edit. So if I fuck something up, Eve will handle it. Our guest today is Chef Johnny Curiel, the chef, proprietor, and owner of Denver's now recently claimed best new restaurant, Alma Fonda Fina, which you'll probably heard us talk about. And we're actually opening the doors to a new location today in Boulder, Kazobi Fonda Fina in Boulder on Walnut Street. Chef, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
Dude, well, we're excited to have you. I tried to get you on a couple months ago because we wanted to be able to give you our platform in case you needed it when the world was kind of just flipped upside down.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we get to have you on for much more positive circumstances here today. But at the same time, it's been a long time coming, and we're really fired up to learn a little bit more about your story, as well as more about the restaurants that are taking the metro by storm. We like to start every episode the same way by asking, are you a transplant or a local to Denver or to Colorado? Where you from? How'd you come here?
I am a transplant.
Nice.
I'm from Mexico.
Okay.
I made it up to Breckenridge, Colorado when I was 12 years old. And after that, I spent my 6 years there. I spent middle school and high school in Breckenridge. And then I decided to move to Denver, Colorado when I became an adult and I wanted to become a professional at what I was doing. I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be in a city where food was heard, where people understood, where it was a little bit more broad and bigger when it came to Mexican food.
Yeah.
And I made the switch. I made the switch to Denver and I've been here ever since. I've moved away for a couple years here and there to go to the Midwest. I went to Minnesota. I went to Cincinnati. I went to Charlotte. I went to all over the place. But I consider Denver my home now. I think it's been about 20 years since I've been in Colorado, so it's been good to me. Can I complain?
No, I know the feeling oh too well. Where in Mexico are you from?
Guadalajara,
Okay,
Mexico.
shit, yeah. I thought you were going to say I went to Breckenridge and fell in love, and I was like, okay, I got to move to Colorado, because that was kind of what Chris and I did. Like, we were like, oh, the mountains are gorgeous because we're from the South. But you got to grow up in Breckenridge, in your formidable years. That's probably an interesting dynamic. Is it like, were you like, fuck, it's cold, it's a very small town? Like, were you like, I got to get the hell out of this one, horse saloon or what, or the, whatever, the one bar town?
My dad used to be a chef partner in a restaurant, in a bunch of restaurants in Colorado, and one of them was in Breckenridge.
Okay.
And he thought that schooling, that just life would be better for us living in Breck than living in, I think back then they had Springs, Castle Rock, Littleton, Breck, Woodland Park, Colorado.
Oh, so he was right.
And he was like, all right, let's do Frisco, let's do Silverthorne, let's do Breck. So we did that, Summit County. And it is different. It is different. For me, it is too cold. It's tourist year round. It's just a lot of different dynamic. And then the people that you see, it's the same people that you see if you go out to have a burger, you go out to the store. It's a small town feeling. And I'm more of a city person. Guadalajara being almost 10 million people.
Jesus,
where my
I didn't
parents
realize
are from.
it was that
It's
big.
huge outside of the metro.
Yeah,
area.
like
It's
with all of
insane.
it?
So I've always been about big cities. I want to just have everything at my hands. Like if I want to go play soccer, if I want to go do anything I want to do, it's right there. And I decided
Eat
to
after 9 p.m.
Everything's still open 24/7 something. You never know. So yeah, I decided to move. It was a big transition for me because I stayed. My parents decided to go back to Mexico when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So I stayed by myself. I've been by myself since I was 16 now.
Oh, shit.
So it was all right, man, you got to figure out life. And obviously in the mountains, it's not going to be as easy or easier than it will be in Denver, right? Like meeting a lot more people, maybe getting a roommate, maybe finding somebody to live with. It's a lot more accessible in Denver. So I decided to just do it, man. And I moved to Denver. I went to Mexico for 2 years to kind of like get my feet wet and as an adult and like understand Mexican cuisine a lot more, like see it for my own eyes. Because when I started cooking Mexican food, I didn't want to cook Mexican food that was what I grew up eating, because I grew up in Breck. I grew up in my dad's restaurants. So to me, what we used to eat wasn't 100% Mexican. It wasn't what reminded me of my mom cooking in Mexico, my grandma's food, the food stalls, the restaurants. It wasn't. So
It was a little white. It was like Americana, like approachability, like you mentioned, tourists earlier. So it wasn't like, oh, this is that homage that I wanted to recreate.
100%. So I was like, all right, I gotta grow as an adult and grow my palate and my brain, and then come back to Denver and live here, and then use what I learned.
So as a second generation restaurateur, and you mentioned you hated the cold, but found yourself in Minnesota and parts of the Midwest, was that kind of part of the tutelage? Was like, let me go get my feet wet learning other cuisines? Or what took you to the Midwest before coming back to Denver and be like, this is where I want to plant roots, this is where I want to be?
I think it was that. I think I was lucky, super lucky to work here in Denver for some amazing chefs. I work for Troy Gard, I work for Dave Curry, I work with Richard Sandoval. And I got to a point where it was like, I felt that I had been learning, I had been working with amazing peers, amazing chefs. And I mean, when you think of Colorado cuisine, you think of Troy, you think of Dave, you think of Richard, you think of Frank Bonanno, you think of all those guys. And I was like, man, I want to go somewhere else. I feel too comfortable. I'm in a stage that I like know, I go out and I know the people. I want to continue to grow. Back then when I moved away, I was 27 years old. I was like, I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to learn. I want to like be uncomfortable. I want to be out of the norm. And I did. I just started going and learning different cuisines, meeting different people, learning different labor laws, different everything. Every state is different. Like, so it was amazing, man. I would never take it back. It was something that I'm so grateful for, that I was able to do, and I was able to say, get outside of your comfort zone and go away and learn.
Yeah, I mean, everything from like the cuisine, but also like the food that they source up in like Minneapolis, St. Paul is totally different, but so is like the audience that you're eating with. You know, I think Chef Andrew Zimmern said it best. It's like there's a large Senegalese population up there, and like they eat different fish coming out of the river than we do, you know, like brown and rainbow trout here.
Voila.
Yeah, right? It's all sorts of fun. They have some weird shit and traditions up there. I think if you get into that Wisconsin area, they'll just eat raw pork on it's like shit on a shingle, you know? So like, it's an interesting dynamic, but it seems like it kind of helped shape who you were. And you mentioned a lot of what we call the old guard, you know, the Troy Guards, the Richard Sandovals, fucking Frank Bonanno. That guy's a nut. I mean, we have to talk about his social page later. I don't see how that's behooving his restaurants. But like now we have this new wave of chefs coming through. And, you know, we've joked that it's the green wave. You know, like legalized cannabis brought a lot of younger folks, which also brought chefs that wanted to attract to those younger demographics. And we were once a meat and potato town. Like the Mexican food, especially, you know, in Colorado. I grew up in Mississippi where it was mainly like what you were talking about, like in the Breckenridge, like it's fajitas, beans, rice, you know, sour cream, chimichangas, But now we're starting to see more like food trucks can be more profitable. We've seen, you know, we know of the La Lomas, but you've kind of come on the scene and shaken everybody, and it's like, hey, there is a different way to enjoy, you know, exquisite Mexican cuisine. And I want to kind of pick your brain on how did we get to that? You know, like you mentioned, like working under Sandoval and Toro, you know, and all of, and he has Tamayo and a few others, and he's got them in Saudi Arabia and UAE and all of that jazz. How did you figure out this was a niche that you wanted to like pursue when you were going to open up your first restaurant?
I think for me, and for my wife, for Casey.
Shout out to Case.
Yeah, she's a badass. She's the true badass here, not me. But
well, I mean, you're not too shabby yourself, but yeah, she is the queen of the castle, and y'all run a kick-ass restaurant, so there is not one without the other.
100%.
So I didn't mean to leave her out.
No, 100%. But when we, or at least when we were talking about doing a restaurant, we never wanted to be just an occasion restaurant or a restaurant that was so elevated that you can only go if it was your anniversary or your wedding or just a special occasion.
Like a treat yourself night.
Yeah, treat yourself kind of night. We wanted to be a restaurant that was craveable. We wanted to be a restaurant that was great in both ways. Great in where you can go and celebrate an anniversary and look good, and or you can go wearing shorts and get a beer and get a couple tacos. You know,
You're
what
looking
I'm
at
saying?
me.
So I wanted to. That's where the fonda fina part came. Alma, obviously, alma means soul. And when I think about soul, I think about super soul food. Like when I think about some of the best American food, it's like down in the South.
You don't have to glaze me. I know he's just doing that to get on my good side,
But
y'all.
it's soul food, and also my mother's name is Alma, so we decided to name the restaurant after soul food and Alma, which is my mother, because it means a lot to me, right? Like it wouldn't be who the restaurant is without our soul and who my mom is. And then fonda, that's where I grew up. My parents still to this day have fondas in Mexico. Fondas are gonna be like a hole in the wall, kind of like almost a sketchy place where like your construction work is divey for the most part, and then but they serve the best food. It's always like you always go there if you want to have a good meal, like after a hangover, after work, after whenever you want to really get filled up, not just go get. And then fina, it's fine dining, so we wanted to kind of like merge those things together and make something that was super great food, approachable in a setting that was fine dining, somewhere where we pay a lot of attention to service, to detail, to like making guests feel valued, to just like making them feel at home and truly showing them and telling them our story. And that's what
You've done an exceptional job, and I didn't know Spanish, so I was going to ask you for the name, I guess the explanation behind the name, because Fonda Fina carried over to the new location as well. But I mean, you're exactly right, and Alma, the one in Lohi, for those that don't know, I call it the clusterfuck, the 5-way right there in Lohi. It took over the truffle shop about this time last year, maybe a little bit over this time last year.
October last year.
October. Okay, so not even. Yeah. So y'all been turning and burning, but you've quickly, made a great name for not only yourself but also for the restaurant in Denver, and decided to open up a second location. But when talking about the Fonda and the Fina part, having both the approachability to be able to come in the casual, fair, whatever you may be wearing, or come in churched up and celebrate a special occasion. How do you feel like it's been done with how the situation has gone with like produce and meat? Costs have gone up, where it's like people complain or bitch about just about everything these days when it comes to restaurants and things of that nature. Has it been hard navigating being able to have that approachability, but also appeal to the fine dining aspect of the community?
I think I would say easy. Nothing has been easy, but I think it has been a lot to do with who we are and our story, right? And from the moment that somebody walks in, if you haven't been into Alma, the moment the door opens, everybody in that building, because it's a tiny building.
Like,
32.
Yeah.
So everybody makes eye contact with you, and our story begins. And I think that's what people want. A lot of times when they are out dining, they want to know. I feel like a lot of times it's not about the price. It's not about the steak being $80, $90, $100. It's about knowing the story of the steak. Why is it $80, $70, $90? Why is your enchilada $30? Why is it, and I'm not saying those are our prices. I'm just putting it out there. But I think knowing the story, knowing the background, knowing where we source from, knowing all those things, I think people are a lot more lean to say, oh shit, that was awesome. I understand now why it's $100 now to go out and eat, not 60 like it was 2 years ago. So I think it's just transparency and just talking to the guest and making sure that they understand your background, your story, what you're doing, what you do to the product, what time you get there, to like just being like open. I think people understand, and it hasn't been hard in that sense. I think people for the most part are amazed, and when they come in, they're like, holy shit, this is awesome. It was worth our buck for sure. And that makes me feel great, because it's easy to upcharge, easy to make something expensive to be able to meet your cost. But if you do it with grace and you do it really well, I think you'll be able to do it fine.
You're exactly right, especially like in telling the story and cooking with passion. Like folks love to bitch, as we see. That's why we hate things like Yelp. Like I know it can either make or break a restaurant. 100%. Same for fucking TikTok and Instagram. That's why we're not big fans of the influencer world and things of that nature. We'd rather hear the story, tell a little bit about it, and know why the food, why does the burger cost $16? And obviously, again, y'all don't do hamburgers, but it's like that same camp. And I think y'all convey that beautifully. It's kind of like you do a delicate dance, and where folks aren't going to complain if they feel like they're not only their food is nourishing, but the story in their heart and soul is as well. And y'all have done a great job in that aspect. There's two things that I think we would be remiss that we talk about before we dive into the personal questions. And the first one is Kazobi. You know, like we just talked about, Alma opened up in October. Usually restaurateurs wait, you know, like let's get this one like ducks in a row, get our feet wet like when you went home. But y'all hit the ground running, and obviously y'all slay it in Denver. Why did y'all turn and burn? Do you hate sleep? Like, why did you open a second fucking restaurant in 6 months? You're crazy. You and Case are crazy sons of bitches. And y'all have a baby at home. Like, y'all never can sleep. Y'all are always busy.
No, I think opening in Boulder, going back to Boulder has always been a dream of mine. I worked in Boulder about 6-7 years ago.
It's gorgeous,
2017.
isn't it?
I loved it. The town was amazing to me. I just fell in love with Boulder. And I always had that like chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, I'm going to go back to Boulder. I feel like I have so much to bring still to the table. I still can show them, share my culture, teach, coach, mentor, like just anything that I can bring to the table. And it was a testament to the team that was built at Alma. Like for a couple months, we were not going to do it. It was like presented to us and we were like, no, we can't. It was presented again. No, we can't. It was presented. And I think at one point, even the team was like, man, like, why not? Like, you guys, like, do it. We got you. We can do it. And it was a testament to what we had built. Now that we're in Boulder, it's like the chef de cuisine, Eric Jonas, has been one of my biggest support. All the other chefs, Rico, Jordan, Alyssa, they have been like more than amazing. Jordan is up in Boulder with me actually right now. So it's like when you build a team, at least I can speak this from the culinary perspective, that is all in with you, and they are like, chef, we're going, like, let's open another one. Let's make sure that we don't neglect this, but like, let's make sure that we have the people and we train and we have the resources to go and do it again, and not do it just because we want to do it the same or if not better. So I think the team and then the front of the house, man, what Casey was able to do with everybody, it's like, it would have been crazy not to do when you think about it. And I know most people look at it and they're like, man, that was too fast. On a daily basis, I think about it. On a daily basis, I'm like, man, was that too fast? Was that too fast? Am I scared? It's normal.
You should be a little scared, but yeah, slay it though.
But it's been amazing, man. It's been like, fuck, like, all right, like the team that we're building now in Boulder, man, it's all professionals again. And it's like, we're able to get some really, really talented chefs up there too. And it's like, let's do it. The service staff, the service team, the staff, just everybody around. It's like, all right, I think we've created something that people believe in, and they are like, all right, we want to be part of that. And it feels good. It feels good.
And I couldn't agree more with, like, you're confident in the team that you have at Alma. So like when I used to walk in or even walk by at 1 o'clock before you open, for those that are wondering, they open at what, 2 or 3 o'clock?
2 o'clock Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock on Saturday, Sunday.
Y'all, it's a wonderful happy hour. You can go in there for a late lunch or libations and see your smiling face. But being able to, I'm going to say, snag Rico, because when Misfit closed at Middleman, what a kick-ass addition. We've worked with Rico before on some of our cannabis pairing dinners. He's not only creative, but he has that same like affection for food and that passion that y'all have. And so you're not skipping a beat at your Alma location by opening up Kazobi at all. And I think that is a testament to, like you said, your back of house team and your front of house team. Like, they're confident in what they do, and y'all can be confident that, y'all aren't going to skip a beat here while you're focusing on getting Boulder up and going. Was there some nerves about moving up to Boulder? Like we've joked, everyone in this food industry knows that Arcana building was kind of cursed, but y'all have this method and model that's kind of tried and true and seems to be playing well. And it's not necessarily the exact same concept, but y'all have the blueprint for success and how to build a proper team and a proper menu. Were some of those headaches kind of our concerns there when you moved up to Boulder? You're like, fuck, this is a large undertaking. Deion Sanders is right down the road. Like, I love shouting out Prime.
Yeah, no, that's good.
He's going to be at your restaurant. I swear to God, I'm going to keep tagging him every day.
I think anything that we do in a daily basis, there's that one scary part about what we're doing, right? Like we're a small couple that owns now 2 restaurants after today. But it's scary. Everything's scary every step of the way, and it's like, but what is it? If you don't do it, then what? You think, you look back and you're like, man, I could have done it and I didn't. Or but it's, you take the chance. We do what we do, and we do it with love and care. We do one guest, one plate at a time every day. We don't take anything for granted. We don't think that because Alma was voted top new restaurant in the town or best new restaurant, it's, oh, we made it. No, never. It's all about, okay, what can I do today better than I was doing yesterday, regardless of where we're at today, and just continue with that mindset and hold me accountable as a peer, as a husband to Casey, as a chef, as a mentor. Just, I like accountability, and if I'm held accountable and if I look at my mistakes every day, I think the next day will be better. And I think that was one thing that we knew going to Boulder, like, hey, yeah, we have a formula. We don't know if it's gonna work, but we believe in each other, and we believe that doing this, it's gonna be bigger and bigger. So yeah, we said, don't be scared.
Okay, so this is the last elephant in the room. I alluded to it earlier in the episode, and we won't go into too much detail, but I wanted you on the podcast when you were definitely in the news, and I'm not gonna say it was for the wrong reasons, but it was just a fucking weird situation,
Yeah.
you know, and now you've opened up your second location right behind a certain Americanized Mexican restaurant that I fucking hate. I fucking hate them. They're cunts. Their food is garbage. And you see a bunch of people that prop them up through social media. And one of the issues I have is, if you tell me that this taco spot is good, why am I going to trust you after eating that and knowing it's not like what you're really looking for? Why would I trust them on the second one? How was that going? Like, for those that don't know, just Google Alma Fondafina law, and that should do it. But yeah, you were in the news and you had a large community come out and support you, primarily local businesses. We saw food editors using their platform in their magazines and newspapers to speak out on what we thought was an unjust lawsuit and situation, while you were maybe 90 days open, 120. How was that navigating? Like, did you feel like there was some improprieties there and you were like, oh, they have a leg to stand on? Or is it similar to everybody else's non-competes in the world, where it doesn't seem like there's an actual legal foothold for them to file a claim? Like, how was it going to fucking court as a chef? Like, are you like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah, and that was more on Alma Fondafina, and the case was on Casey. But no, I think if anything, what it did for me and what it did for Casey and for the team, it put us in a place where we knew what we had done was right. The moment that people were behind us, the moment when we decided to open a Mexican restaurant and share our story and share who she is as a person and who I am as a person, and what we wanted to do with Alma Fondafina. And then the community backed us, and the community were like, you guys are awesome. You guys deserve to be open. You guys deserve the best. You guys deserve, it was like, it kind of like opened our eyes to say, we were right to open in Denver, Colorado. We were right to be part of Lohi. We were right to have opened a restaurant. And that's all it did. If anything, it made us look at things and be grateful for what we have and be grateful for where we're at today. And you never know. Nothing is given. Things can go away. And I think we knew that before. I think we know it even more now. And we look about it every day and we're like, all right, how can we be more sustainable? How can we make a move that it's more sustainable, not just for you and I, but for the employees that we have? What happens if it would have closed and the employees, like we made a promise to them. So no, I think it just made us open our eyes more and stay more about like, all right, we're going to run harder at what we do, and we're going to be better versions of who we are, and just keep doing what we love. Keep doing it.
Y'all continue to be professional, and I'll handle the other stuff. If you ever need a picketer, you give me a shout, and Dee also a shout. She's a day oneer. She loves y'all dearly, and she went out there and protested with me. But y'all handled that with grace, just as you have that question and answer. But it really was surprising, because it didn't seem like there was a leg to stand on from that other side's perspective. But seeing the whole restaurant community, like you mentioned, you came up under the Troy Guards, the Richard Sandovals, and then you're going up against, the Francois and things, and you're like, it kind of seems like, oh shit. And then you see this massive wave of support come through. It kind of gives you a little bit of that confidence. You're like, okay, we're doing things right. And maybe it's like, we can open a second restaurant. Was there any bit of that? Like, okay, this community has been there for us since day one. Boulder's going to be in the same camp. I mean, y'all have handled it with entirely too much grace. And I just can't tell you how proud I am, not only of the success, but also how you handle adversity. That's very impressive.
No, yeah. I mean, at one point, I think it was the hardest thing probably that both of us have gone through in life. But I had her, she had me, and it was both mentally. It was like, hey, what do we do? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Like, time will tell. Time will tell. And as long as you, I, Junior, like, are doing our things right, and we have each other, and like we wake up in the morning, you're healthy, I'm healthy, everything else will come to its senses, and it happened. And we wish everybody continued success. We wish the company of My Neighbor Felix continued success. We want to obviously continue success for ourselves. So I think we put that behind as we close the books, and we say, hey, you know what? Let's keep going, and let's all focus on what matters. And what matters is being part of Denver, being part of Boulder, being part of the hospitality, and giving the guests what they really want to eat. Give them the guests a great restaurant where they can say, hey, share stories, where they can say, I was there opening night, I was there for my anniversary, we just hosted a wedding actually 2 weeks ago.
Oh, get the fuck out,
yeah,
really?
we hosted a wedding at Alma Fuentefina, and it was like, holy shit, people got married in a restaurant. That's pretty cool. So it's like, let's keep doing that. Like, that's the shit that we love, and everything else always works itself out.
I love it. I love it. Well, Chef, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. You're not out of the woods yet. These next couple questions are just kind of personal questions that we ask all of our guests just so that folks can laugh at you while they're listening on their commute. And these questions, it's called the personal section, are welcome to the casting couch. Get comfy. And it's presented by our friends over at Seed Money Consulting. If you want to be able to get comfy, be able to kick your feet up once in a while, we have an accounting firm that works with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses based right here in Denver called Seed Money Consulting. And they do wonderful work, not just during tax season, but throughout the year. There are financial advisors. They work with a litany of folks from the cannabis, the restaurant space, all of those in this like-minded industries. And they're there for anybody listening that may need some assistance as well. Reach out to Sam, Shahab, and the team over at Seed Money Consulting, and they'd be happy to take a call, tell you a little bit more about how they can help be your chief financial officer for a low price. They help small businesses get their ducks in a row so they're not ever leaving money on the table, especially come tax time or throughout the year. Don't get stuck with a bill in March. So shout out to our friends at Seed Money Consulting. Chef, this first question. Let's say you had a long night on the line, like it was Tuesday or Monday night, you worked till 9 or 10, then you closed up shop, you get a shift beer with your gang, you're like, hey, congratulations, thanks for everybody's hard work, I'm just gonna go home. The baby's asleep. What's that guilty pleasure late night snack that you always have in your pantry, fridge, or freezer that you can lean on before bedtime?
It is not anything that I have at home because I will eat it at all times, but it's something that I would tell you I eat at least once or twice a week.
What is it?
It's a double cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Really?
Really.
Just a basic double cheese?
Extra ketchup, extra pickles, extra onions, extra mustard.
Just load it down.
Yeah, I DoorDash is my best friend.
Really? Oh, that's great because obviously you're a very talented chef, but a lot of the restaurant team and community that we ask, you'll hear them, they'll be like, oh, I'll fucking spend $50 at Taco Bell on my way home. It's like, I need something easy, especially after being on the line and cooking. You don't want to do the cooking. So no shame there. I won't. As long as you don't say Chick-fil-A, we're all about believing.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, the French fries and the Coca-Cola are a perfect hangover on a Saturday morning too. Okay, so you've been in Colorado for a hot fucking minute. Do you ski or snowboard?
I used to, not anymore.
Okay, let's say you had a night off. I know it's almost crazy to think about these days with a baby and 2 restaurants. Where would you go to treat yourself for a happy hour cocktail or a dinner for you and Case? Maybe it's anniversary night for you and Casey. Where would y'all go and have a little night out where you trust and love the food?
Kawani.
Oh,
100%.
Yeah, Bill and the fam over there.
100%. Yeah,
they fucking kill it over there.
They do. They're amazing. It's not just the food. It's the same thing we talk about, the hospitality. They're from Connecticut.
Yeah.
But they got
West-
to Denver and
was
they
it
Westport.
Yeah, Westport.
They got to Denver and they quickly made an impact. They quickly got themselves submerged in the community. Everybody knows who they are, and we live about a block away from them.
Oh, that's nice.
Whenever we're like, hey, it's 8 p.m., we can still get a table, we'll text Bill or Massimo, hey, can you get us in? And we'll sit at the bar, we'll have a drink, we'll have just the crab fried rice, man.
And the dumplings are good too.
The dumplings are stupid, yeah.
Dude,
So Kawani for sure.
I like it. And, you know, I feel like the Lohi neighborhood is kind of starting to find their own because we hate the little fuckboy restaurants like Avanti and whatever's across the street, the other one, not Recess, whatever it's called, with the patio. But anyway, like those, that's kind of what the vibe always had been. It's just like, oh, stay out late, drink a lot of sugary margaritas that are 64 ounces and eat subpar food. But, you know, y'all, Kawani, Jacques, you know, Williams and Graham even has some pretty solid
100%.
food. You know, and then now you have some others that are popping up in the neighborhood. It seems like Lohi has kind of taken the reins back because it used to just be like Uncle was the only good food, and then everything else was mid as fuck. Now there's a couple of y'all that are kind of holding the fort down, and we're seeing more young folks, at least with those with residual income or those that live in those condos. They're like, oh, I can just eat in the neighborhood and get drinks and everything just right here.
Yeah.
It's a nice, y'all have got yourselves a nice little box over there.
I think
you don't
so.
have to leave the area.
No, I think Lohi now, and I think it's been a time in the coming because people were getting open there, but Lohi is a destination, I think now people from Centennial, Castle Rock, downtown, I mean, we see a lot of people that are like, hey, we came from downtown. Hey, we came from down south. It's like, all right, that's awesome. Like Lohi, it's like its little own like
it's finding
city.
its groove.
It's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, and I love it. We love being part of that community. I mean, we live right in Lohi, and it's like, it's perfect for us as young professionals because we can go out, we can have a drink, we can say great meals, safe, and then at the same time we can take Junior out and go to the park, go to the ice cream shop, go like same thing, super safe. So I think it's great. It's a great area. I love it.
And you're exactly right. Like folks are coming to the neighborhood instead of like, oh, we're just coming here to like drink all night and then go to a club down on Broadway. It's like, oh no, you can do all of the things here. You can have happy hour here and then dinner there and then late night drinks over here. Like there's something for everyone in Lohi, and y'all are a very big reason, you know, for that kind of change of scenery, because otherwise it would have been, we kind of would have been stuck with those larger box operations with where food quality is maybe not as great. Okay, so 2 more questions and then we'll get out of here.
ahead.
If you had to have sex with one cartoon character, who would it be and why?
What?
Yeah. You should have listened to a couple episodes before the episode. You would be like, yeah, I know this answer.
Holy shit, that's a good one.
You can think Disney princesses. You can think anime. We have folks that have said members from Scooby-Doo. All of them. Not the dog, obviously.
Yeah,
but we had someone say Peppa the Pig one time. That was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that's pretty. Nah, I don't know, man. Shit, cartoons. It's been so long since I've been watching cartoons. Not with Junior, I watch, but
yeah, you're thinking like, damn it, all we watch is Paw Patrol and the
Yeah.
Wiggles. It's like none of
can be
those.
Ryder. Oh shit. Shit, man.
All right, I'll let you pass on that one.
All right.
If you had to be one appetizer on a menu, what appetizer would you be?
Mozzarella sticks.
Fuck yeah, me too. High five. Yeah. Okay, so then let's talk a little bit about that real quick. Who has your favorite mozzarella stick? And you can say Sonic, because Sonics aren't bad, but do you have one that you're like, I love? Because I can give you a few Rex if you ever have a day off.
I think I need a few Rex.
Mac Fam.
All right. Here you go.
I don't know
I've
if you
heard great things about
Dude,
it. Yeah.
their food is exceptional top to bottom. Ken and Doris make very approachable like dining options. Their chicken wings are great too, and obviously like their rice cake noodles are great. Like their dumplings are sturdy as an ox. But these mozzarella sticks, and they're just basic Betty mozzarella sticks, but they toss them in a Szechuan oil and then finish them off with little crushed up peppers on top so they have a little kick.
Oh.
And we're team marinara usually to dip them, but they have this like cooled off ranch dressing, and I'm not a big ranch person, but with that Szechuan peppercorn heat, the cooling of the like dilly ranch or whatever it is very solid. I thoroughly recommend it. A second one, since you're on this side of town over in the studios, shout out to Pine Melon, Grandma's Goodies. They're Institution in Wheat Ridge right next to this Walmart.
Okay.
Their mozzarella sticks are like pillows, like the size of this fucking thing. Like they're puffy this big. They look like a gold brick. And you get 5 of them for like $10. And I swear to God, it's 2 pounds of mozzarella. They're Italian, so they don't skip a beat. They do everything the right way. Thoroughly recommend.
Oh, yeah.
And then lastly, go to Lou's. They use a bagel crumb, a breadcrumb on their outside, so it has a little more oomph, volume to the body of it. And they have a great marinara that's a little chunky, so you get a little bit of those like larger marinaras with like onions and like maybe some of the crushed tomatoes on the mod stick. Those are 3 that I'm really high on.
I'm gonna have to check them out for sure.
All right, last question of the night, and then I'll let you go back to work. Congratulations again. Before we ask this last question, let folks know, how can they find reservation information, follow the restaurants on social media, things of that nature?
I think for Alma Fondafina, it's Alma Lohi Denver on Instagram, and everything's linked to that. And then almalohidenver.com. It's you can find our menu, you can find a link to hit our reservations. But our platform is Talk. So all of our reservations are through Talk. And then Kosobi Fondafina is the handle for our new restaurant opening today in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, man, it's fun. And then kosobifondafina.com for reservations as well. And the menu and just anything. We try to stay as up as we can on Instagram, on social media, so we can tell our guests what's going on with us. So that's the best way to keep up with us, or just come into the restaurant and say hi.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this last question, obviously you're a worldly man. You know, you mentioned you bipped and bopped, traveled around both for work and probably have done some dining out as well. What is one city that's either on your bucket list or one that you constantly think about, like, oh, I got to get the fuck back there. I loved the food in that town. Or what's a restaurant that you covet, that you miss, or you want to hit?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
What?
Yep.
Skyline Chili?
No, I say this to everybody and everybody's surprised. Cincinnati, Ohio is my favorite city in the United States.
Fuck is Cincinnati your favorite city?
I lived there for almost 3 years.
Okay.
But also the demand for good food in Cincinnati is stupid. It's like everywhere. It's like Procter & Gamble, the company, their headquarters is there, but Kroger is there. So I feel like Cincinnati, you go from one restaurant to another restaurant to another restaurant, and they're all great, 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 great. Like I can name 10 restaurants in Cincinnati, Ohio that I would fly to eat right now. And we actually did. We just went to Cincinnati, I think like 7-8 months ago, because this is a conversation that I would have with Casey, and she would be like, what? Like same reaction.
I mean,
we went to Cincinnati, we came back, and now ask her about Cincinnati.
I will.
It changed her life. But Abigail Street is a restaurant in Cincinnati. It's man, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. It's Mediterranean, Moroccan influence. They got a lot going on, but they do an amazing job at everything they do. They have this one pasta. It's called lamb noodles, and it's crispy lamb with thick noodles and then an egg yolk that they just mix in there. It's like a carbonara with lamb neck. Man, fuck, that's crazy. Their fattoush salad, their falafel. It's perfect. I'm telling you, we got to go to Cincinnati. We got to take a road trip.
Yeah. So we've kind of alluded to it, but we'll be in this studio for a couple more weeks. And then we're going to move out, put some of this stuff in storage. And one of our goals is to buy an old RV, wrap it with our sponsors' logos, and drive around interviewing chefs and eating cuisines across the country. Awesome. Just kind of like intermittently. Obviously still have Denver as our headquarters, but that's our end goal in 2025 is to have the RV. And I'm about to we're going to have a map. And now you're going to make me put fucking Cincinnati, Ohio on the map.
Don't eat Skyline.
I mean, that's what everyone is like. They're known for, obviously, but I didn't see that coming. And we've had musicians come on and say places like Philadelphia and even Pittsburgh are sleeper great dining cuisine cities, and you don't think about those oftentimes like you do your New Yorks, your Chicagos, your Los Angeles, And so hearing Cincinnati, I'm adding it to the list.
You have to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chef, well, I know you have a full day ahead. You have a bunch of new guests coming in this week. Congratulations on all your success and your continued success. We're going to be there continuously dining. Probably more likely we'll be at the Denver location as it's only 2 miles from here right
It's
now.
perfect.
But at the same time, for those that are curious, Alma and Kasobi, they'll have different menus, same similar styles, obviously, same chef at the helm, but you cannot go wrong with either. So if you check out the new location, it's a little bit bigger. So if you're not trying to get married in a small, quaint location, but want to have a bigger party, Kasobi is your spot. Catching a football game this fall, going to see Shador and the boys play up in Boulder, you've got to go check this out. This is a place that you definitely need to go. And like he said, it's not going to break the bank. It's approachable both in, casual nature and clothing and things of that nature, but you can get out of there without breaking the bank. Chris and I splurged the other night and literally went like multiple cocktails, apps, entrees, fucking dessert, and got out of there for under $200. And that's like us being like huge bags of shit, like slugging oysters all night. So literally it is very approachable, and I swear to God, the food slaps so hard. You can taste that they're cooking with passion. We give it our seal of approval. It's not just new, it is officially good.
Awesome.
Chef Johnny, thank you so
very
much for
brother.
taking the time.
I appreciate it.
Y'all, until next week, stay high, stay hungry. Cheers.